Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about Schumer's speech. Senate Majority Leader Schumer gave a speech, and that speech 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago, 8 months ago, would have been inconceivable. The speech lasted half an hour or more. It wasn't just some offhand comment at a presser. It wasn't something that wasn't thought out ahead of time. The key takeaway from the speech is that he believes Netanyahu no longer represents the interest of his country and that the voters there need to replace him. It also demonstrated a marked willingness to condition aid based on the actions that are occurring. That's a big deal. The Senate Majority Leader of the United States basically calling for the leader of an allied nation to be replaced. Now, given the fact that it was the Senate Majority Leader, it provides some insulation for the Biden administration. It's not the U.S. head of state calling for that. But the Senate Majority Leader is about as close as you can get and have any insulation at all. It's a marked shift in tone. This is the culmination of U.S. signaling over the last few days. Now, that signaling has also included a number of other things. Starting, you have Biden's interview, where everybody focused on, I'm never going to leave Israel, or something like that. But the next line said, we won't cut all weapons. They'll always have the Iron Dome, right? There is also a letter that came from very influential senators to Biden. If you want to read it, it is on the website of Bernie Sanders. You can find it there. And it basically says that Netanyahu's government is in violation of the Foreign Assistance Act. Short version, if you're disrupting humanitarian aid, you don't get to get U.S. military aid. Down at the bottom of that letter, it does the same thing, saying that there's nothing in the law that says the U.S. couldn't provide defensive aid like the Iron Dome. Very similar phrasing. Then you have, and that letter is about cutting military aid, offensive military aid, if they don't fix the humanitarian issue and start letting the trucks in like now. On top of that, you have Senator Van Hollen out there. Van Hollen is basically saying, cut the aid if they go into Rafah. He also signed the letter, I think. This is all interesting in the aspect of foreign policy intrigue, because it certainly appears that these steps were planned before the State of the Union. And it's a teachable moment to show how the ratcheting up of international pressure works and takes place over days. It is important to remember that when it comes to the humanitarian issue, they don't have days. They're out of time. They are out of time. They've been out of time. Obviously, there is going to be pushback on Schumer's speech. It is worth noting that inside Schumer's speech, he also had pretty pointed words for the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. It is probably more signaling that involves Netanyahu's consistent opposition to a two-state solution, which is something that the Biden administration wants. And this is grouping it all together and signaling that the United States is kind of done with the bear hug diplomacy that had been going on, and that they're moving to a much more direct and much more public method of applying pressure. Now, at this point, the U.S. has gone pretty far down this road as far as signaling that it's going to cut offensive military aid, maybe even stop using its veto. Like, they have signaled a whole lot, so much so that it would be very difficult for them to back out. At the same time, at this point, we don't know if they're going to follow through with it. It would be really hard to back out of it now, politically and internationally. But they're out of time on the humanitarian side of it. The action, if it is going to come, it's probably going to come in the next few days. If they wait any longer than that, it won't be believed. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.